so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality. And the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness, which creates and animates all things. Now, of course, understanding this powerful truth is one thing. Applying this incredibly empowering wisdom to everyday life, well, that's another. Which is exactly why we provide you with a fresh serving of soul food for thought 5 days a week, to help constantly remind you of what matters most. You are it. And I'm your host for the day, Erica Middlemiss. I am just another reflection and extension of you who will be here filling in for our beloved host, Brandon Beecham, leading the way to ensure your perspective is consistently expanded, your vibration is constantly elevated, and your heart is overflowing and full. All right, all you positive heads, welcome to this week's Soul Share episode, where I am so happy and honored to be filling in for Brandon yet again. And I am super excited to have Zoe-Anna Bell and Jarin Kenyon here with me today. Zoe-Anna is a life and relationship coach, a 3-time published author and presenter. She is an expert in Vedic meditation, yoga, and is the founder, creator of Youth Blueprint. She balances expressing her soul calling with being a mom to 2 beautiful boys in Australia. She has a philosophy of inspiring inner transformation by morphing ancient wisdom and modern science into relatable tools that, once activated, begin to reveal your own gifts. She leaves youth with an experience of unconditional love that they will always remember and restored confidence in self. Jarin is a motivational speaker, life mastery coach, and human design expert. He is the founder and presenter of Fast Track Your Dreams. He uses ancient wisdom, modern science, and practical tools to help youth and kids feel good and find their direction in life. Jarin is co-collaborating in the Youth Blueprint, bringing his passion, expertise, and wisdom in working with youth. Welcome, Zoe-Anna and Jarin.
Hi, Erica. It's great to be here. Hey, Jarin.
Hey, ladies. It's great to be here, too.
Well, thank you. Thank you both so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to delve into your work and hear about all the beautiful things you're doing with our young generation out there. But before we do, I want to start with our predictable question that Brandon always likes to ask our guests, which is, you are in an elevator and the woman next to you turns to you and asks, what is your passion? You have 10 floors to answer. What do you tell her?
Okay. My passion is to keep expanding into the highest vibration that I can be and bring that fire and that ignition to ignite others, to inspire them, to juice them, to create a awakening within them, so then they start leaping into who they came here to be. So my passion is to ignite people and to be playful and be curious in life and keep expanding and keep growing and creating. And to be myself. That's it.
How about you, Jarin?
So my passion is to help everybody realize that we were born limitless, and that in that process we are human beings going through an experience that is helping us perceive time and space and be able to not only create and push forward what we wish to create, but also learn from and receive from others along the path that can create something greater. And in this experiment of Earth, we're here to create a mass ascension of freedom and liberation on the planet through only us being ourselves and working together as a team to create a spiritually and materially abundant planet. So.
Beautiful. Well, if I was the woman, I would say, please tell me more about this. And I'm really glad that you guys are working with our youth. So tell me more about what is the Youth Blueprint?
So the Youth Blueprint is a it's ignited from a passion to bridge the gap of what I felt was missing between what kids are learning in school and to. It's a global initiative. It's a 3-month coaching program which is self-directed by the kids. So it's giving them the tools of what they need so they can start to ignite their own magic from within. And it was birthed from a deep passion from myself, from not fitting in. And even when I thought I was fitting in, I was still seen as different. And knowing what that feels like from how society can judge you for embracing your uniqueness and your weirdness and your wildness, and really giving them the tools to turn the attention inwards and to be themselves and shine bright in themselves. So it's a movement to give them what they need. And I feel it's just the beginning of something greater that's birthing, where the idea is that they then go on and create something even greater. I feel it's a spark that's going to start off this bigger chain reaction, which has already begun. That's my personal of what it is.
And, I feel like this generation of kids has come in so much more sensitive and aware than other generations. And so this type of work, I feel like, is more important for them because they really need some guidance there, right?
Yeah. They're next level. They're already there. And what I'm finding is the parents are needing to catch up as well. But it's well, when Jarin gets into his aspect as well, they're already more evolved. I mean, they're not going through the dense lessons that our generation went through. So they're definitely coming in more awake, more aware, and I feel with some really stable, strong foundations, because they do need the foundations, then they can start really leveraging into, they're our leaders of today and tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Jarin, what do you have?
What do I have? Well,
add to that.
I'd like to follow with a specific question. So what might I add, Erica?
Okay.
Where would you like it to go?
Well, so you guys, is this generation called Generation Z? Is that, I'm not sure if I've ever heard that correctly. Yeah. So,
Generation Z. Yep.
And did that come from anywhere? I'm just curious if there's a reason for that name. Do you know?
Well, I would say that that is an actual, I don't know, call it a collective representation of the generation that comes after Y, after the millennials. Okay. And into Z. So, I don't know what the exact age is. Zoe might know a little bit more clearly than me, but it's basically the youth and below, that is below our generation, that is basically wired and used to and built to not only think and create quickly, but also want to mirror us with what they learn through quick orientations of education and images that also are not necessarily, the 80s and 90s was like, hey, follow the role models. Be this skinny, be this strong, be this pretty, be this smart, be this wealthy. And what they actually want is they want our authentic selves. So they're actually seeking us to be who we actually are behind the suit and to be honest in our human challenges as much as we are emanating what is possible, from a higher self standpoint. So they're actually looking at the rawness of who we are. Zoe could probably add to that, but that's my perception of what they see and want. So
they want to see us being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They see through it. They see through it. When you work with youth, you will know this. They see through the BS.
Yeah.
They rock up. They're real and they're raw, and they're also teaching us of society has lost compassion and forgiveness, and until we can fully go into that, and they're being these divine mirrors, they're actually teaching us as well, because they they're teaching us what we naturally were when we were kids, and then it was unprogrammed out of us because of, you know, what people knew and what they didn't know, and they value that. And I think that's why I've always had a resonance with them, because I've rocked up just being myself, being raw and real, being messy if I'm messy, and not really caring what anyone else thinks. And it's refreshing for them, and taking off the mask and just seeing myself exactly on the same level. Like, we're souls, and we take the age thing out of it. We're rocking up and we're being present with one another, and they need more presence beyond the fluffy exterior stuff. They want real, and they want present, and it comes into that whole thing of connection. They're thirsty and hungry for connection.
So yeah, they're very intuitive and empathic, and with that, I can imagine how really cutting edge your program is, and really leading the way for them to just open up and blossom as souls here.
Yeah.
So Jarin, you do work with human design. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is, and why it's important for the kids to know about what theirs is?
Sure. So human design is a science that was developed in the late 80s, and in the last 10 years, it's started to take hold and starting to accelerate, where you might find that more and more people are becoming aware of it. And what it really is it's kind of like the internet of the early 90s. So, you know, when www.com came in, well before Facebook, and when emails were just getting started, is where human design is right now. And it's going to be, to me, the biggest thing on the planet that connects us all together oracally, and how our individual energies as a physical being and the energy of which we emanate through our electromagnetic field, or you could say our aura, is conditioned and conditioning other people. So it's going to show us our masculine and feminine qualities and how we are connecting with others. Because when we get around others, we're different people. We have different emotions, we have different thoughts, we have different energy, we have different beliefs. Everything changes. And so it shows us how we connect through one another, which, you know, just to make it brief, is not just on a personality-based test, which is what a lot of, and for me personally, what every test I've seen thus far is. Okay, you're born at this time, and here's what that means you are. Human design has that, but basically about 3 months into or before your birth, so say 6 months into your mother's pregnancy, the energy of the cosmos, the energy of the planets, the energy of the systems around us condition our DNA into a subconscious reality and a body-based reality that is largely where our soul resides and what we came in with, which is much more than just the iceberg above the ocean. So the personality is one thing, but our physicality and our body and our subconscious is another. And so human design brings them both together, and using modern sciences such as quantum mechanics and astrophysics, as well as the chakra system, as I mentioned, genetics and astrology, and then the Kabbalah, it combines them all together basically to create an energetic field blueprint that you can see. So you can see where you're dominant in masculine and feminine, what the characteristics are, and then where the shadows are and where the gift is, and how we can move through them and use the shadows to create a greater us and a greater growth. So it really connects individuals and the collective in a way that we can see. And then on a real basic sense is we have different archetypes that are us. And some of us are directors and guides and are waiting to be invited in to lead our gifts. Some of us are energizers and sustainers, and we are builders and doers, and we're designed to be in response and triggered into doing it. And some of us are designed to spark things and start things and initiate. Most of humanity is taught you have to push, you have to initiate, you have to come up with the right answer. And not all of us are built that way. So it's a combo of, hey, how am I built? How do I work with others? And then how do I make intuitive decisions that might take some time, and they may be built differently. So it really gives people a unique look at how their energy is built and how they work with others.
Wow, what an amazing tool to be able to understand your archetypes, your blueprint, how you interact with yourself, with others. I can't think of a better tool. So amazing. I'm so glad that you guys are using that. So that's just one of the tools that you guys use in this program. Is that right?
Yeah, so the Vedic meditation is a massive part of it as well. So every youth that comes through the program actually gets, so Vedic meditation is also known as transcendental meditation. And they're getting a beginner's and an advanced mantra. Now what this does, it actually starts working on the neuroplasticity of the brain. So it takes them from being stuck in their left brain of overthinking or stuck in the past or limiting beliefs. And also it starts to stimulate the right side of the brain, which is to do with creativity and imagination and tapping into that limitlessness. And often so many people can get stuck in the left brain, where also part of our personality, the ego. So it's on a deeper level, what it starts to enable each youth and each soul that does this is to be free of attachment. You know, we can often get fixated or held on to something. So it allows them for that creativity of them to birth through, to come through. And from my own personal journey and from working with others, it was the key. This was before I even came along with Gene Keys, and then I see that it's all interrelated. It was a thing that actually got me out of having depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, from, you know, really not liking the way I saw my body. And it takes anyone, even if they are autistic, even if they have a short attention span, what it starts to do is it increases focus and concentration. It also strengthens will, which is strengthened within the brain. And will is so vital as we continue to live and thrive in life. And we have many in society that have weak will, and that's where addictions come in. So it's a real key component. It assists people of being able to break free of addictions, where meditation becomes an addiction and work on yourself becomes an addiction. So you never get rid of something. You're simply replacing it and upgrading it. And the more they can book in and have and find those pockets of stillness and silence in their day, then as they start to explore the Gene Keys and they start to have things coming up, they have a stable foundation that they can always come back to. Because we all understand when anyone goes through change and rapid transformation, it gets a little bit unstable and it can feel scary, and that's where a lot of people put the brakes in. So it gives them a stable place where they can learn to sit down. I'm going to say shut the F up because the voice gets busy. Sit down, shut the F up, and do the inner work. And magic starts to happen behind the scenes on a deep in the subconscious, where there's no conscious awareness of it. So when they're sitting and they're doing the practice, they will start to notice that this creativity is birthed, that their unique passions start to come through. They're able to have focus and clarity on what they're revealing and the things that they're learning from the Gene Keys. And it's the most powerful tool. Meditation's becoming more and more mainstream, and it's beautiful to witness that. But I'd describe this form of meditation, it's like the Bugatti. Whatever a kid can think of as their fastest, most sexiest, most badass car you can think of, and maybe it's a Hummer, I don't know, then this is the key. It's the key. And I'm talking from experience, from being a teenager that was very lost and destructive, very destructive, and not knowing. Even if I was given a map, I wouldn't have been able to make sense of it because I was so stuck in left brain. So it's exciting, and coincides with the rest of it, because the creativity is also to do with our sensuality and our free expression. And, unfortunately, sexuality is seen in it's our life force. So then Jarin talks about the Kabbalah and the life force, and what this starts to do is it starts to turn up and switch on and magnify the electromagnetic frequency within the body. So looking at all this, I'm like, wow, like it's even just those two things together without the other, and there's other stuff that's in there as well. It's a potent formula for anyone, no matter where they're at, no matter where they start from. Like all of us, from the ground we rise, and it gives them a stable place where they can start to see and allow their true passion and their true soul calling to start to be birthed.
Yeah, beautiful.
So yeah, that's my take on it. And interesting enough, it was both our paths. Was that right, Jarin? You also learned you were practicing the Vedic meditation for many years?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So for me personally, my roots were living in Los Angeles. I was connected with some of the people from The Secret, the book, the movie, The Secret, and that kind of crowd of the Western thought of the New Age creation, and worked with some of them and still do, and use that intelligence that we have from the New Age knowledge. But also, as Zoe mentioned, the other aspect of myself came from India in the energy of the ancients, and what was known thousands of years ago, let alone now, and how we use the mind principle and the body principle and the emotions principle to create, from that trinity, and how to manifest from the conscious self forward and from the subconscious body forward. And so mantras, reprogramming the mind, reprogramming the body, energizing it in our new present thought, and the ability to create at a quantum level, which can happen when we raise our frequency to that point. And so whether we use mantras or meditation or, yoga, as the West knows it, with physical movements to get ourselves into a place of alignment of the soul and of the body and of the mind to be able to make life change immediately. That can happen, but also as we go through this process of transformation of the old human to the new human template, and from the old earth of competition and survival and fight, flight, lack, limitation, doubt, anxiety, the whole thing, into abundance and giving and serving and fun and freedom, and what the new earth is. It's a process, and it's a genetic transmutation of the energy of what we used to be to what we are. And so what that leads me in is what Zoe mentioned in the Gene Keys, is that the Gene Keys goes along with your human design. And in your human design, you can see the template of where your genetics are predisposed. So I like to joke and say, I'm a guy, okay? I'm a male. Can I have a baby? And everybody laughs, and they're like, no, you cannot. And I tell them, well, if I was really an infinite powered being, and as a lot of the quote-unquote secret says, or as a lot of enlightened masters would tell you, I actually can change my body and my being into anything at any moment. However, that takes a lot of energy to override genetic potential. And so I cannot have a baby. That would take a lot of work. Same thing with your human design and with your gene keys of your genetic potential. You can try, but you chose a suit for a reason. And it's up to us to energize that suit as much as we want to reprogram that suit, to accentuate it and to be it. And so this is what the youth blueprint brings in, is it says to the children and to the parents, and I'm going to say both, not only in understanding their children, but also in being themselves. Because what I tell people is you cannot understand others until you actually are yourself. So human design teaches that if you're not in your strategy and in your intuition of who you actually are, you're automatically going to be in shadow. So you need to know yourself, and then you need to know others. And parents to kids, obviously, is primary. So how am I built, and then how are they built? It's kind of like on the airplane, right? You put the mask of oxygen on yourself first and then your kid when you're in survival of the planes going down. Mm-hmm. So these teachings combine to create an energetic understanding and a mental understanding of how to use these suits so that we can create beyond just the male, female, old, young, rich, poor. I'm from LA. I'm from Zimbabwe, right? All these things can come together to help us understand how we work. And when you know how you work and you know how your reflection works in front of you, you can operate in synergy and in synchronicity and in divine alignment that can create a big change. And so those are a lot of spiritual principles. But really on the physical, mental, and emotional level, it's just allowing each person to be who they are. And so these are what these tools allow us to do, which, I believe in 7 to 10 years is going to be the lead of the planet. We're all going to be realizing, hey, Zoe's not just female from Australia or England to Australia or whatever you're from, Zoe. Jarin is not just from New York to California to Hawaii to Thailand back to New York. Let's just play the game. We have a genetic potential of how we were built beyond all those means. And when we accentuate them and when we live them in our masculine and feminine balance with that other person in a simplistic way that is understandable. In other words, I'm invited, now I lead. Or I respond, now I lead. Or I follow my gut. Or I let my emotions process. Or I follow a lunar process of a 28-day cycle. These are all examples of human design. They can get us to make decisions that will never falter. They will always be for the best of our higher good. And they are not just based on, law of attraction is I think it and there it is. Okay. So what about your subconscious programs that you're living, as Bruce Lipton talks about? The robotic program that we're living. It's one thing to think consciously, you're just doing it. And another thing is, I'm intuitionally following my feelings or whatever. Okay, so what is that relative to you? So it gives everybody a unique template of which to live by, and then their genetic potential can be actualized to their greatest self, to live their greatest destiny, achieve their greatest purpose, and receive the abundance and prosperity that allows them to actually be free, which is what the kids are already at. So all that junk and everything that I just said is they're just waiting to actually be themselves and to have a basic, simple plan to follow them, their path forward, which is my 2 parts were just mentioned. Zoe has 10 other parts that are beyond my total understanding or even comprehension that she has put together into an amazing platform to help kids and parents be themselves and to help them move forward. So,
well, Zoe, let's hear about those parts.
Okay, so one of the main components is then bringing it into the physical, so about taking them through physical processes so they can tap into their superhuman. And this is stuff I'm currently going through myself, and so I'm basically learning and expanding in that area and then channeling it to take them on a guide. So the Wim Hof teaching, ways to biohack the mind using cold water therapy, and also breathing techniques to biohack the stress response in the brain, which has been super powerful. So they're getting to learn all these different methods, things that they can do each and every day, which are really, really simple, which have this knock-on effect of increasing their confidence. It makes them feel limitless and invincible when they're no longer in that state of reaction. They can then step forward into a powerful place of action rather than reaction. The going into flow state mastery, flow state mastery is learning how to work with, bringing in the ancient wisdom from India and the training there of working with, like Jarin was saying, I'm just not feminine, he's just not masculine, same with you, Erica, and we are both, and learning how to navigate that inner world of being able to work with the electromagnetic frequency and then how to use that in our highest alignment for what we came here to be. But teaching the inner practices, pranayama, so learning how to control their breath, learning how to turn, like they're already vibrating at a high frequency. I'm sitting here with a Merkaba in my hand, and that's one of the other things I'm teaching them, how to activate their light body, so their Merkaba body, but actually aligning it with the stars and with Mother Earth and learning how to spin it and learning how to turn up that light frequency, which is, again, then people talk about the Christ consciousness. It's allowing them to burn through the density, work through the density within the program that they may still have there, so then they can become more of this light frequency body at the same time of bringing that masculine and feminine into unification within self. So it is like, and it's interesting, it's like, how are they going to respond to this? And, that's what's beautiful about it. Again, that's that curiosity coming through, and because I feel this is what they're ready for. They're ready to power up. They're ready for strong foundations. And the other keys are, I need to mention this because this is vital. It's one of the main things of the foundation. It's them starting to be the cause of their life. It's not about my parents need to do this, they need to do it. It's about getting rid of the blame or the guilt or the shame. So that's like a really powerful pillar at the beginning about getting real where they're at and starting to take responsibility, starting to take ownership, starting to be accountable of everything in their life. So they start to be the powerful cause of their life. What else? Jarin, I'll let him talk about that in a minute with the creative writing. That's another aspect Jarin's brought into there. Nutrition. I brought a nutritionist in. I interviewed her and she shared her wisdom in there so they get to access that. And it's basically empowering them to trust in their instinct, in their intuition. There is so much, as you would know, being a parent yourself, information about you have to be this way, you have to be that way. And I'm very much of the belief of allowing your inner gut, your instinct to be your guide, because we're all different and we're all made differently. So it's really taking them on a journey to see that food is not the enemy. Which then brings me on to the other point of emotions. So showing them ways through demonstration of how they can channel, how they can tune into the emotions, what the messages the emotions are giving them, and to show them ways to release anger, how to unleash, how to ignite their warrior from the inside out. Gosh, I've kept a note here because there's a lot in there. Sensuality, that's it. We're touching on sensuality, and really I feel around the youth and that age, we've all been there. This is the age of experimentation, and them really building such a strong, powerful sense of self and self-esteem and self-empowerment and this is a lot for the girls as well and the boys, of empowering their no, knowing what their no is, and also knowing what their yes is. And I feel that has been lost of, how will I be judged? What will my friends think of us? And, everybody develops emotionally, physically, spiritually, at all different rates. And I feel as a parent myself, is I'm here to guide them to make the most empowered choice of what is right for them in that moment. And so, I'm talking about different things that are out there. I'm even bringing up the topic of polyamorous and monogamish. And, these are things that I feel when I've shared it with my kids, they already know this stuff. So they've already heard this stuff, but it's actually being communicated in a way that they actually can start being open and to open the door of communication. And I feel that's really big for the parents as well, to be on side of it, to always be open and be available to listen, to hold space for your kid And you may not be in agreement, but it's setting firm foundation, boundaries that feel safe, but also knowing that they're in a time where they also have two wings called trust and faith. And the more and more we can have faith in them, and we can unconditional trust in them and be a guide for them, then I feel that will bridge a gap of where sensuality is sort of, we still have certain judgment around things, and there's so much shame and rage held in society, and I feel it's time to shift that.
Oh, I totally agree. That's a really big one.
The final part, when they come to the end of it, which is the whole purpose of putting it all together, is what is their soul mission? What is their gift here to share with humanity? So personally, the bigger picture of this, because it's global, I see and I feel youth from all over the world, like what we're doing right now. We're all light bulbs for humanity. We're all sharing, all three of us are sharing our passion and our light. And in that group, they're going to ignite with other people in that group. And this is where the magic starts to happen. I just got shivers all down my body. They then start to create their own co-collaborations, their own partnerships. And that, to me, I feel quite emotional when I say that, because to me, that's the key of why, for me personally, why I'm doing all of this. I have no attachment to it. To create something so great and co-create with Jarin something so magical that they then get to be the ones that are leading it. They get to be the ones, that's where I see bigger picture, and they're guiding, because for me, that's going to be the most powerful shift for humanity.
So you add that personal responsibility piece in, which is huge.
I have to be. That's the foundation. That's week one. That's week one. Pre-coming in, because there's so much that they're going to have to learn. They work with me one-on-one, and they get the foundations of the meditation. So that is already ingrained. That already is becoming as normal as brushing their teeth, as normal as changing their underwear every day, having a shower every day. And yes, that's the first week, is accountability, responsibility, ownership, and really bringing those things up to the surface of where they do start feeling shame. They still feel shame about their body, or they're blaming themselves for something of what they heard or what they perceived when they were younger. That's the foundation, and then that continues all the way through. So we're constantly bringing it back to, because unless they take self-responsibility, they will never be free.
Right. I'm curious, how do the kids respond to you saying, okay, we're going to start with meditation and taking responsibility and accountability? Those are big things.
I guess, meditation's been such a diluted word. I find it, from being in the meditation space for many years, I find it such an overused, diluted word. The same as, just breathe. As kids are like, oh my gosh, I've heard this so much. It's really, I don't say too much about it. I basically, because when I'm working with them, I sort of say to them that it will give them an experience. I can't tell them what it's going to feel like. I can't tell them what it's going to do for them. It's going to be unique for whatever they need in that moment. And to just become curious and just to be playful as a child and just see what happens. Because kids are being told what to do so much. It's an invitation. And I also share as well about my own story about how it was the one thing that gave me some peace inside in my head. And when you say that to a teenager, of how much noise is inside their head, and they can access some pockets of peace or some stillness or a rest from the jibber jabber that's constantly going on, then they tend to leap at that, because there's so much noise out there. And they then have the experience there. And in all transparency, we're pre-launch, which is really exciting. So we're looking at launching September, October, just to clarify on that and to give the transparency for it. Other youth that I've worked with, their light bulb's gone on. They've done it. Like, even when they're learning it after the first session, they're like, there's no words. You see a light bulb go on. And when you experience something that feels good, it makes you feel good, and you get pockets of peace. And this is for adults as well that have never been able to meditate. This method, anyone can learn it, even if they've tried every method on the planet and gone, it doesn't work. They adapt to it really quickly. I feel as well, the reason as well that they're finding it so easy to learn is because the essence that they're feeling when I sit in space with them, they get to feel into that space of wholeness and completeness and total presence and total transparency. And there's a resonance that they feel, and I'm finding people that are learning it now are actually progressing so much faster than what took years and years and years for me to actually find that.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you get to that place and you feel that feeling, it's indescribable. And like you said before, it almost becomes like an addiction, but a positive one, that you want to go back to that place because it's so peaceful and loving.
The new addiction.
Yes.
We're addictive with our personalities. Maybe my personality is addictive. It's addictive. I have an addictive personality.
So then for someone like you, these positive type things are, you can become just as addicted to those, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's, and now what's happened this year, it's letting go of all of that. It's like they've done for me, you reach a point with anyone when you're learning any tool, when you're learning any method, when you're learning any key. Initially it becomes it has to become something that's so disciplined that you're constantly practicing to fine tune it, right? To keep the key sharp so it unlocks the key within yourself. And then you reach a point where you're like, and this is why it was so beautiful, it assisted me with letting go. So I no longer, I teach it and I guide it, but I no longer have to do the practice that I did before because it served the purpose. And as Ram Dass beautifully said, all methods are traps. So you need the methods, you need the keys to get there. And then once, and it's not like your ego kicking in and going, right, I'm there now, I don't need it. It's something that's so subtle that shifts on such an inner level, or maybe you actually learn to let go of it and have no agenda with it. And again, that's dying. That's another death in itself. When I let go of the practice, it felt like I was letting go of my life raft. But that was the next step of growth.
Interesting. So do you still come back to it, though, when you need that tool?
I still come back to it so I can play with it now, because they're used to getting the foundations, and then from that it goes deeper, the sutras and suddhis. And I feel very blessed. I basically had a live-in teacher for 6 years, and it was no hiding, and it was boot camp Zoe, 24/7. So I'm blessed to have had such a badass teacher, but he taught me everything that he knew. So it goes deeper. It goes into the whole inner matrix of the body. And so now when I sit, I will choose a mantra, so a psychic sound that has one of them that I play with, which is the representation of the golden nectar or something out of there. So I can now choose. I can be in choice what to bring into my resonance to then be a part of my resonance and then to go out and be that.
Beautiful. Are you a meditator, Jarin?
I am a meditator, yes.
And I'm curious about how you, just to change up the topic just a little bit, I'm curious how you fit in Kabbalah and how much of it you can, I know that, the topic is so huge, you could take years and years and years studying it. So how do you fit it into this program and what parts of it do you teach?
Okay, so I am definitely not an expert in the Kabbalah. Not even trying to say that I am. And allowing the process of everything we're in right now, right? This whole call, this whole energy of what we're emanating. Being extremely happy to be feminine in it. And I appreciate the question, Erica. And so the reality is all of it is comprised in our human design. So I do not know the Kabbalah and how to approach it in a way that is applicable and understandable. What I know is if we look at our human design, we can approach it in a way that is very human and very action step oriented, and in a way that we can create a great change. And the Kabbalah is one of the major parts to it, So it is a major part to it. But as holistic beings, how do we apply this? How do we make the superhero human? How do we make the human superhero? Whether it's children or whether it's adults, we can do this. And we can do this by our body mechanics and manifestation. So what this takes me back to is a lot of the self-help and self-empowerment and law of attraction programs. They can teach us how to consciously do this, and then we still go through the karmic effect as the gurus from India or South America would teach. The pattern still exists. We still continue to recreate what we're unaware of, whether it's when we're children, when we're teenagers, or our past lives. And they continue to recreate based on our body and our energy from what we used to be. And all that is great, and all that is real, and all that is put into it. But how can I operate in the moment in design, by being feminine and masculine, through the unique expression of what we are? Because that is the reality of it. It's not based on male, female, old, young, rich, poor. It's based on how is our unique expression through our potential expressed. And that is what human design does. And Kabbalah is a major aspect to that. It's a big time aspect to it. It actually is what connects our. So in your more formal question, it's actually what connects our DNA to our chakras. So if you think about your chakra system, from the emotion or the mental or the will or the desire or the crown or the root of pressure or the ability to act or our throat or our voice, right? All those things are all combined into it. And then how does the Kabbalah integrate into it through our body, through our mind, and through our emotions to create a holistic being that can move from the old human template to the new human template while still remaining human and being superhero. And that's what we're bringing in. And that's the gift that helps not only adults, but also children who are way more ready, way more adept to it, be able to apply practical principles to be able to do so. Because in just a few steps, we can move in 1 month what would have taken us 30 years prior. And we can do that. And we can do it with efficiency. And we can do it with knowledge of how we're built, intentionally in vision, and how we're intuitively built, and in the applied strategy of how the designs are applied, which, again, comes from partially due to the Kabbalah. But in an applicable way, I have to say this. So I said a lot of words, and I was listening for a while, and then I speak for a couple minutes. But the reality is, this is beyond any of the old terms, the new terms. It's a combination. It's the caveman understanding of astrology matches the internet of the present. if you could put them together, and where human beings have been lost based on astrology and based on what was written in the stars before human beings even had cars, had internet, had planes to be where we are now, because we'd be aliens 300 years ago. We would be. And if you applied it to the science and the mechanics and the math that we have now, it gives us the ability to have the phone, have the TV, have the car, have the plane, and you put it together, that's the system that Zoe and I are building. And that's the system that the kids are ready for, because they are not going to attune to, an old Ford from the 1970s. They want a Mercedes from 2019. How do you do it? We got to give them attention on themselves, as Zoe has mentioned several times. They have to understand how they're built inside, how they can create reality inside, whether it's through any of those chakra systems, right? And how do they work with others that can incorporate that into creating a bigger expression of who they are, which comes from really the masculine and feminine again, the spiritual and the material world, and being prosperous and abundant in all aspects. And that's what I know, and I feel that we're all here to create, even amongst us, Erica, with Zoe and I, we're all here to do something bigger. So how do we integrate it? How can we bypass time and space to do so? And it's practical ways to do it. It's not just fantastical, and it's not just science fiction. Now we have the knowledge of which to do it, and that's what we're bringing in for the kids, the parents, and everybody else.
The golden keys of being a superhuman, huh?
Yep.
I love that. And all of these tools that you guys have are just, in my mind, the things that I know of that are the perfect things to learn about yourself, to learn about your shadows, to learn about your gifts and your masculine and feminine qualities. And then to have that foundation of meditation and the other tools that you teach them. I mean, you guys are going to help create, seriously, a new superhuman generation. And what will that look like to you?
Zoe? You want to go first, Jarin?
Sure.
I'm being in my feminine.
Wow. Oh, my God. Now I got to leave. Oh, Jesus. No.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So the question, Erica, was a superhuman generation? Oh, yeah. So I love it. So the reality is we have a technology inside of us that can work not only individually in our unique expression to be our greatest self. We can do this as a super highway of interconnected beings to do this, from kids to adults and beyond. And so we can do an amazing, and I'm having deja vu, and I'm going to be transparent with everybody because I love my human self as much as I love my superhero self. And I'm not going to pretend that I'm not either of them, and all of us are best to accept that part. We're all learning and we're all giving, right?
Yep.
So in that process, and I feel like I dreamed this last night, we have an amazing ability to choose to be inside what we wish to be outside. And we are going to do that. We're going to do that very quickly, and we are going to do that in a very powerful way. And as much as the right brain is involved, the left brain is involved. As much as the mind is involved, the heart is involved. As much as the body is involved, the spirit is involved. And we're going to do an amazing thing. Through our interconnectedness and our acceptance of one another, our receptivity of one another, and our gifts that are designed to be masculine in one another to create a new earth. And the new earth is built on the foundational principles of abundance, freedom, prosperity, service, giving, and all those principles. But we will not do that unless we embody the genetic potential of what we were given before we were born to create that new earth, which is through work and energy and time, which kids have to do just as much as adults. And they need to see who they are. And they're going to have, the three of us went through a generation of learning. They're going to know who they are 20 years before we ever did, and what they're capable of and what they can accentuate in that. And we want to condition them in the right way to do so. Not telling them this is how you have to be. It's telling them just, this is what you were born to be. And in that born to be presence, they will see that in themselves, and they will add to it, and they will lead us, and they will tell us, no, yes, this is what is right, and this is what I can take you forward with. And they will create something that we cannot fathom a couple years from now. through the inner technology as much as the external technology. But what I can say in my my final talk on the subject is the external technology is just as important as the internal, just as this call is, because without the external technology, we cannot do it. Mm-hmm. But through the internal technology, what is inside of us beyond what we see in our matrix field and what is outside of us, we can impact and create anything we will forward from our desires, and we can feel and intuitionally and allow something greater from what we see in our outside desires. And the kids are already, they're already like, guys, are you going to catch up? Are you going to be ready to do this? But they need influence, and they need an understanding of how they're built from third grade, not from 25 years old or 30 years old or 20 years old where we came from. They need to know this from when they're 3 or 4 or 5 years old, and that's what we're aiming to do, is give them their blueprint.
Lovely. I love that starting that young, the thought of what these kids can grow up to, that gives me the chills and goosebumps and makes me want to cry, because the thought of that is just so incredible. Because I see these kids, I have a lot of teenagers around my house all the time, and I see how amazing they are. And they ask me metaphysical questions that I wouldn't have even thought of at their age. Mm-hmm. So yes, there's so much more advanced. And I love that you guys are getting the parents involved, because I think that that's a really big piece. Tell me, how can parents find out more about your program?
So the best way is there's a Facebook group going which is actually aimed at the parents, because obviously not many youth are on Facebook, but it's Global Youth Blueprint. So it'll be like facebook.com/Global Youth Blueprint. There's also the website. I can give you my email. There's some back-end stuff that's still being finalized. I'm happy for them to shoot an email on Zoe@Zoe-Bell.com. And also to check out the website, youthblueprint.com. And to get the ball rolling, to reach out, send a message on Facebook. And the way that it's rolling is parents will reach out, and then I have a drop-in, and we have a consult via FaceTime where the parent and their kid are both present. So they get to, feel into the energy, and then they usually go away and look at the program, and then we set up another call moving forward. So that's the best way.
Great. I know there's a lot of parents out there listening that are thinking, wow, this sounds awesome. How do I get my kid involved? So yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to switch gears again really quick. And I want to ask you guys both. So I'd love to hear if you guys have a story of synchronicity or serendipity or a positive paranormal event that you'd like to share with us.
Do you want to go first, Jarin?
Sure.
I'm happy to go. I'm easy.
Your choice. You or me, Zoe.
Okay. Well, I could do all of the above, but I'm going to go the paranormal. And because I know that that's something that's pretty juicy. So where am I? I've had this beautiful, and I've had it over numerous times, and this year from January onwards, where I will be in my meditation and I'll be guided to lie down. So I'll lie down, and I can see an angelic entourage around me, but I'm guided to lie down. And then what happens is I see myself suspended in this goo. And it's this bright green, purpley goo. And it's like this high vibration life force that is, and I remember like keeping my eyes open and seeing what was going on. And I saw these beautiful light beings actually working on me. And it's not just happened once, it's happened multiple times. And the funny part is I'll watch it for a while, and then I've been then almost like knocked out for 40 minutes into a deep sleep. And then I've woken up, and then when I've woken up, my vision is resetting, realigning. It takes about 2 hours for it to come back. And it's been really cool, actually. It's been trusting, just being guided by my intuition. And it feels like the beings and the light beings have been supporting this upgrade that's been going on an internal level. Because then what I started noticing on an internal level and other people were feeling was a sacred union within self of the masculine and the feminine coming into union within self, and feeling in this really divine wholeness and completeness. And when I've looked at both of them, it all was aligned and synergistically aligned. And I haven't had this experience for a while, but I see the energy around me when I'm on live. I have people saying to me, you have a being behind you. You've definitely got a being flying around your head. And I'm like, yeah, I can feel them. And fairies as well. Like I had a fairy that showed up on a live, and I'd seen it on another person's live, and then when it flew in, I was like, wow. So I'm feeling that the veil is becoming thinner of all the worlds, and we're starting to get more confirmation of how we are connected with nature, which I know is going to lead on to Jarin, and it feels in a really beautiful time. I'm feeling in this, how can I put it, that experience you can't bring into words of nothingness, but feeling everything in that moment. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Even though you can't bring it into words to explain it. But yeah, some beautiful beings have been supporting this process of what is coming, and almost like doing the deep inner stuff that was ready to upgrade, to see more clearly, to feel more deeply, when we're tapping more into our clairsentient type powers. So yeah, that's mine. That's what's been happening. If that's paranormal, that's one of the stories.
I love it. You know, it's not the first time I've heard about the goo.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The healing goo, the peaceful goo. Yeah. I've had a lot of people experience that. I explore this often. So that's why I've heard it a few times. But yeah, cool. I love to hear stories like that over and over, because then, you know, it makes it more real to everyone else, mm-hmm. you know, I think too, that hears it, when it's just not just one occurrence. This happens, right? It happens multiple times. Mm-hmm. To multiple people. So I think that's amazing. How about you, Jarin?
Well, first of all, Zoe, that was an amazing expression. I appreciate all that. That was really powerful and real. So I appreciate you being raw with your personal experiences and what you wish to bring others. That was amazing. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
The thing that I want to say in the moment now is, for me personally, I was exposed to the fact that humanity was going to go through a major change since the 1980s. I'm 36 years old, and so my mother has been preparing for this, and I play with this, but since I was 3 or 4, I heard about this in the late 80s. And it took me to the mid-2000s till I actually started to play with it and embody it. And in that, I always wanted to be different. I did not want to follow the 9 to 5. Conventional 9 to 5, you have to have your kids, you have to get married, you have to get retired, you have to die. This whole thing. And I want to tell everybody, we all have our own unique way in that. So there is a structure to that is also amazing and true, even to me. So even though I say that, it's not to say that there's not a gift to it. It's to say that not all of us are built in that exact way. So I've had that gift given to me from my mother, who said, hey, you create your reality. And in 2012, there's going to be a shift happening. So be yourself and walk through it, and realize that from the inside out, your intention is what becomes who you are. And that led me to the people and the things that I've talked about today. And having said that, really what that did from the Indian gurus that I've followed and been on a pilgrimage with and walked through India and South America and Peru and Chile and, Hawaii and Iceland and things that I've done to be connected to the land and to the earth and to the feminine and to the energy that wants us to grow. I've also been exposed to the cosmic knowledge that is causing our DNA to change, and it's causing us to become the superhuman race that is ability and has the ability to cause us to ascend. And in a human way, as much as a evolutionary way of a soul, to be a spiritual material being that can be ourselves and change the world. And for me, what I've learned, whether it's Namah Shivaya, so many of us have heard of Om Namah Shivaya, right? Which is the Sanskrit terms for the elements, which is what Zoe led me into. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, the ether, all those things, is that everything around you is a matrix, and it is a system to cause you to wake up to the fact that everything in creation throughout all the cosmos, let alone this planet, is a result of you. And in that, you can influence it, albeit you're being conditioned in the feminine by what has been created before you and what is around you to help guide you along the path to awakening and to support you with what you do not know. So in that process, Earth is in a major awakening of the living library that's going to cause us to be able to not only be ourselves, but to connect with many that are beyond Earth. You have 80 billion stars and 80 billion galaxies that the human telescope can see. That's more than there are sand kernels on the planet. So we are in a major change. We are not alone, and we are really kind of graduating from kindergarten to elementary school as a human race. So technology is reflecting that. What can you learn from that the most? To me, my experience is, and I could talk about angels, I could talk about aliens, I could talk about human design, I could talk about all these other things. What Zoe was saying is that for me, the elements are all there. The animals, the plants, the names, the numbers, the synchronicities. We talk about numerology. We talk about names. We talk about people. We talk about things that guide us forward. As much as we're creating it forward, they reflect it to us. If you can become one with everything, you're really embodying and emanating what Namah Shivaya means, or even a scientific way, what the quantum field means, which is I influence reality and reality is influencing me. And as an observer, I change reality. And I'm here to serve the higher good of humanity and myself to grow. And all those things are present within the elements. So when you look at the weather, whether you look at the computer, or whether you look at your son, or whether you look at your wife, or whether you look at me talking to you right now, there's an aspect of what I'm conditioning into you that you do not agree with or align with. And there's an aspect that you hear me and you hear my soul and you understand that this is the truth for you. And can you receive that as much as what you're giving it? And that's what humanity is going through. Can I receive? Can I be feminine? Can I learn? Can I amplify what has already been given? And can I be myself in it? And can I be willing to express it, willing to talk about it, and willing to lead it? And that's what the Youth Blueprint is for children, their parents, and that's what we are. And that's why all of us are on this call right now. And that's why everybody that's been attracted to this call is ready to make the jump, the quantum jump, the jump that is not linear, the jump that causes us not only to manifest our life forward, but also to go inward and realize where we need to clear and what is not worth carrying on anymore. And both of those together are going to create what the new earth is. And I'm just happy to be part of it. I'm happy to learn from the people here. I'm happy to connect with anybody that wishes to connect with us, because it's true what Zoe has created, and I'm a supporter of this, and I'm honest to this, Zoe, and I don't want you to push you on the spot, but the reality is I'm just adding an aspect to what you've created and what you birthed, and children will benefit from this. And I know within all my heart and soul that any parent or person that hears these words will say, wait, I want my kid to be free, but I don't want them to follow the education of what just the linear path is or what they're supposed to do. I want them to follow what their heart, what their dreams, are, and I want them to learn how to use the science of the brain in the correct way, which is what I think is and why I think causes me to feel it, instead of figuring out how to manipulate reality or to fit in is. And that's what we're about, is thinking and feeling your way through life in a way that's allowing life to transpire and believing who you are in it, as opposed to the societal or the old earth conditions into it. And I'm just happy to support it, and happy to support anybody that hears me, or anybody that can lead me, or anybody that's ready to be led in what we're doing, Zoe and I, forward to help the youth be free so that the planet can be free. And it can be a real world of love and abundance and fun, as opposed to the old world, which really is pretty much freaking hell. And it was a gift, but it's what we're transcending. So I just appreciate this program and anything that is bringing me forward and us forward in what we're doing to create a better world that we can just be free and be ourselves and have a good time.
Well, I am very grateful to you two for doing this program, because the need is huge, and I'm just really excited for these kids to be able to grow up to have these types of tools. Like I said before, I mean, to see our planet evolving like this is it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zoe. What else did you want to say?
I just wanted to add something really quick. For the listeners and for both of you as well, I said to my mum the other day, I feel like I was when I first came out of the womb. Like, we were summing my life up, and it's all gone full circle to now. For all of us, parents that are tuning in, we chose all the dense lessons of what we went through, or the adversity, to then transmute it, to transform it, to transcend it, and to then be what we needed to be to understand that whole contrast to then what was coming through. So I actually feel like I'm 3 years old, so I feel ready to leave this with Jarin, because I feel there's the wisdom there, and there's that insight in there of all that density to support the kids, the adults, and to constantly be reflectors and reflections of one another, so we can continue to grow as a society, as a family. So yeah, it's like Jarin's mentioned before, and you mentioned as well, Erica, it's not just about, the youth are going to bring this, and it's an opportunity for then the parents to take themselves off the hook, to realize it's not about being perfect. And I feel they will go through this massive healing, and to remember that we're all kids. We're all kids. We're here to play. We're here to be curious. And the world out there will tell us that we have to be this, or we have to be serious, and we have to fit into this box. And the more and more we can break free of that, and the more, like now, just allowing the words to flow out with no attachment to them, to allow our true essence to shine, then the more and more people will take off their masks. And it feels in a beautiful place of being grateful of why that was birth, why it was growth, why it was created. And I feel a lot of adults will relate to that, because they've also chose that dense path. Like the second wave of consciousness that we were born into, that we chose. And yes, just to give a heads up, I feel like I'm 3 years old, which is a powerful place to be, by the way. And if we all start being that, but bringing our wisdom into it as well, then magic, like has been mentioned on here, really starts to shift on a really global scale. That's all I wanted to add.
Well, it's a great thing to add, because that magic of childhood and being a child, it's so important to remind kids to play, and they don't need to grow up too fast. With our society bombarding them the way it is, they feel like they have to be adults when they're 13. you know?
Yeah.
So it's nice to remind them just to play and have fun and be who you are and, you know, fly your freak flag and express your weirdness and, you know, to have somebody like you who is willing to be vulnerable with them and, you know, share what you've been through and then they can relate. And, I think that's, such a beautiful thing to do when you've been through something, to turn it around and say, okay, now how can I use this to help? And that's what you're doing. So thank you so much for that. I'm just, I can't tell you, as a mother, you know, this feels so good to me to have people like you out there doing this for the kids.
Thank you. I wanted to mention on the synchronicity very quickly how Jarin and I connected. That was, it's like when you're asking, you're at point of asking, and this is for everyone out there, like things are shifting, you get in the synchronicities. And when you see a soul and you hear them speaking and you've got every cell in your body just going, yes, oh my gosh. And you're like, you want to get a word in edgeways and there's this excitability of every cell within your body, then act on that. And that's how it all began. And, you know, from seeing from another podcast, and I shared that with you, Erica, to then bring me to Brandon, to Jarin, to then telling me about Jason, to then to bring to Brandon, to then to you. So that's prime example of what is happening and why we're all sitting here. And I feel like we're on this launch pad right now, and it's exciting times. And I just want to honor and thank both of you for being those divine expressions of, I just feel in such a deep space of love and gratitude right now.
Me too. I am so grateful for you guys again. And Zoe, you brought up a really good point there. You know, I know a lot of our listeners are new to this arena of thinking, and a lot of people don't even understand what their synchronicities mean, right? So when they're getting these signs and symbols from the universe, they're like, what does this mean? Why am I seeing these numbers, right? And so I think you just explained a little bit about what that means for you. But if you could give our listeners just a little bit of how to listen to these things from the universe.
So you can sometimes have it, you see something, and then you see it happen again, like very, very fast. It may be something may be slightly different about it, or it's the feeling when you think of somebody, you're thinking of somebody, and then they call you. That is a synchronicity. That is an example of your. We talked about the internet, your internet. So your inner vibration, your internet is your resonance of that's how quick it is. You think of someone, and then they hear you, or they feel it, they sense it, and then they call you. That's synchronicity. Or, you know, it can be as well like walking into a room. Jarin mentioned deja vu. You walk into a room and you have this deep sense of, I've been here before. I've been, like, it was like this. Some things may be slightly different, but you feel into it. It's like, we've already been here. I've already had this experience before. That's like a deja vu. But to listen and to not be afraid of it. If you have like a feeling that comes up, or you may be having a conversation with someone and you already hear the word of what they're going to say, that is giving you clarity of the intuition. We have 6 intuitive guides of this clear clarity that is giving us deeper information about something within our own inner realm, our own inner matrix. Not outside of yourself, but your intuition, your intimacy, your intimate guide, which is within you. And the more and more you come into a place of relaxation, the more and more you feel relaxed in who you are, then the more of these you start getting. Synchronicity could also be... You go to an event, and there's something inside of you. You feel something in your solar plexus, just below your heart, and you're around your gut as well. And you're like, I don't know why, but I just had this feeling, and you know what? Like, you see something and you're like, wow, I actually feel like I'm just going to go to that. And you have no other idea why you're going, but you trust in that instinct to take action to go there. And while you're there, you rock up, and, you know, you hear beautiful stories of that's when people find, you know, they then bump into the person that they're, you know, that is going to be a teacher or a guide in their life or a relationship or whatever it is. And another person also had that instinct, and then you meet. That is synchronicity. It's the universe giving you confirmation of something deep, deep in your heart. So the more we can tune into our heart, the more we can trust in those messages and fearlessly keep going. I don't know how and I don't know what it is, but you know what? I'm just going to go and do it. I'm going to go and sit in that cafe. I feel guided to sit in that cafe. Because you never know. And if you're constantly sitting on the fence of, oh, what is it? What is it? Just trust and leap. And then make it up on the way, because that is divine guidance leading the way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Zoe, thank you for that. I know that there is someone that needed to hear it in exactly that way. So I really appreciate you for sharing it. So as we are running out of imaginary time for today, I just wanted to ask either one of you if there's anything else that you'd wanted to share about your program or about yourselves that I haven't asked.
Jarin?
Oh,
please.
Jarin.
You go, Jarin.
Yes, please.
You want you. Well,
I'm enjoying my feminine.
Yeah. No, I appreciate all of this whole experience. It's amazing. So what I would say is if you yourself or you wish for your children to acknowledge their soul desire that they have within them to become limitless, we have some of the tools that can help them be that and be free. And, you know, through a process that can be helped from a young age instead of when they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Be free in their mind and how they think, in their emotions and how they feel, and in their body and how they act. All those things, we can help them just simply get the clarity of mind to realize what they want to accomplish and what they want to be without any conditioning from what should be, and then the action steps that can do it, whether it's through nutrition, whether it's through physical activity, whether it's through design, human design, whether it's through law of attraction, whether it's through a million other things, right? Or in our case, a step-by-step process of 6 or 7 or 8 other things, they can change their life. And that's what we want to do, because we don't want them to have to wait 20 years to be free. We want them to start to do it now, and the planet needs it now. So just as the rainforests are deteriorating, so is the youth, and we can help them lead the planet to what we want it to be, you know? So this is an aspect to what can change youth to parents to corporate to the world and make the world what the Mayans and the rest had prophesized. You know, we can do this. We have a choice, though, as a human race. We can choose to do the old or do the new, and it's all about who we are inside. The latent potential we have to become free, sovereign human beings, and when we choose it, the resources and the people will show up, just like today. So what Zoe is talking about, our synchronicities, it's like, it doesn't matter that I'm in New York right now and Erica's in LA and Zoe's in Sydney, Australia. Through time and space, we'll connect together and we'll create something that can cause us to move forward. And as much as it's about allowing and free flow and trust, there is a science and a regimented action behind it, and we aim to do both processes that can allow us to be free, to do what we want to do in the world. And so I'm just happy to be part of it And everybody strap on your seatbelt because we're on for a wild ride. I can't even imagine where we're going to be in 2020. All of us, right, Erica? All of us are like, wow, where are we and what are we about to do? Because I pretend and I speak a good word. I have no idea. My human self is like, oh my God, what did I just say? What do I think I'm doing? What do I think I know? We have no idea. The more we know, the more we don't know.
Exactly.
We get to be those. We get to be that transcendent generation that causes change in the planet, and I'm just along for the ride, and it is fun.
We're here at the most glorious time in the planet's history, aren't we?
Ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty amazing. Happy to be here. Grateful. Yeah. How about you, Zoe? Anything else you'd like to say?
The one thing that I'd add is I always found that when youth look at this, the answer comes from them. It needs to come from them. And like with anything, with any change, we can want the best in souls, but until it actually comes from that person themselves and they're like, oh my gosh, yes, because that's what I'm hearing from you. That's the magic. And when you hear that in your kids, it's, like hearing that passion switch on again, myself as a parent, it can, just to say you're not alone as a parent, and sometimes you can feel quite lost and constantly feeling like you're doing everything to keep everyone else happy. And it's also a message for all the parents listening that, and it's been mentioned before, that until you actually put on your own oxygen mask, then you can never fully give the others the oxygen they need. So it's, like I'm interested to hear. I'm really looking forward to the feedback and to reaching out and connecting. So please reach out, please connect, and show it to your teenagers. See what they say about it. See what because it will be dependent on them, and I think dependent on their age, and they have to be willing that they're actually going to start taking responsibility for themselves, which is empowering.
Mm-hmm. Give us your website one more time for anyone who wants to get in contact.
The website is youthblueprint.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
I'm just in the process of getting all the call to action, all the back end stuff. So that's why I gave my email as well.
Okay. Do you want to give that again too?
It's Zoe, ZOE, at ZOE or VOE hyphen Bell, BELL.com.
Excellent. And so I do have one final question for you both. And Zoe, I'm going to ask you to answer first. I'm going to solve this problem.
Yes, I'll go first.
Zoe, you answer first. So in 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life according to Zoe-Anna Bell?
I am. I'm the meaning of life. Being in the sense of I am existence. Zoe means life. Remembering that I am. I'm source. I'm limitless. And being an expression of that from my heart. So to me, the meaning of life is to be in my divine expression of who I came here to be, of who I chose to come back to be, which is who I'm back to being now at 3 years old as a powerful creator. And I'm here to have fun, and I'm here to play, and I'm here to be curious, and I'm here to challenge, and I'm here to grow. That's my meaning of life.
I love it. You gave me goosebumps with that one. I love it. How about you, Jarin Kenyon? What is the meaning of life according to you?
I'm going to take a breath here. Playing. The meaning of life at this point is to be the superhuman as a human, and to realize that we can be anything, do anything, give anything, go anywhere. based on what our thoughts and feelings energize to get us there. And so the reality is every human being on the planet is waking up that they create their reality, and the only reason I'm on this planet is to help accelerate that process through my own awakening and through helping others awaken. So we're designed to live every moment new and have infinite possibilities through the quantum field of potential all the time. So every moment can be new if you get out of your robotic program of what society has told you to be. And yet at the same time, there are gifts inherent in that. You know, there is a structure inherent in what works and what doesn't work. So it's not saying to not be receptive, but we can do anything and we can create anything in any moment. And we are here as a race now to transcend humanity to a true place of freedom. And on this little planet of the living library of Earth, we are now going to coalesce and connect with, because the question, and I heard this, has to do with what is beyond, normal human understanding and synchronicity and connection. We're going to connect with what's beyond and who's watching Earth to cause us to get there, and to help us and support us to get there. So I want to leave us at this. We think about when the Native Americans saw the ships, and a lot of us will talk about Columbus, when they saw those, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. I've never talked about this. This is really funny. But when they saw this coming across, they had no idea what it was. There's good and bad that came from that. That is not my dualistic aspect to say it was good or bad. But in that process, two different worlds merged. And we are going to cause that other merge from on Earth to off Earth. And we are going to connect with people and races and love and light and technology we can't even understand. And if we can look forward 30 years, we'll look back and say, this is what happened. And wow, how amazing did we learn from it? And what I'm encouraging us all to realize is we have it now. And we're the ones that are here to actually cause that change and live that change. And it is a wild experience of a roller coaster from the ups and downs to do it. And the only way to do it is to be vulnerable and be receptive, and at the same time realize that you're superhuman and that you have abilities that can do what no one else could ever do. And if we can learn to balance the two of them and be ourselves and learn from others, we're going to be able to live that ride. And thank God we chose and we're chosen to do it.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you superhumans and all you superhumans listening out there. I thank you both so much for joining me today and sharing your wisdom and your program. And I'm very grateful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you both. That was juicy. I loved it.
Until next time, everyone.